Who to select from your unit of choice ticket, ladies and gentlemen. We also gonna be talking about the equipment to pick, true weapon, all of that in one video. Especially because this time around they didn't change too much. For the most part, it's pretty much the same unless you've been playing the game for a while. And here are the three things that I'm talking about. We got the 4-star equipment, the 5-star true weapon, and the unit of choice. But I'm gonna do this a little bit different this time around this year. I'll be breaking down to 2 players really. One, if you're a new player, like just started playing the game like maybe 4 months ago or something. And then if you're a veteran. So let's talk about the 4-star equip ticket first. There is a lot that you can get from this, but the main thing that I want to recommend to get is, for one, no matter what, on your first buy or your first ticket for the 4-star, you should get Keon. Keon is an amazing 4-star support arch gen item, gives you arch gen over time, and it's one of the highest arts per second in the entire game as a 4-star support. So definitely pick up Keon if you haven't got it yet for your 4-star. If you have gotten Keon, the next thing I would recommend is Flower Cane. Very strong 4-star heal item, probably one of the best 4-star heals in the game that you can get from just the base game alone. Also, Prayer Wine Soma is pretty solid too. And then for 4-star defense, if you want to pick anything from here, just pick something that you don't have. So I didn't have Phantom Mask, so I picked Phantom Mask the one time that I did. Now moving on to the 5-star equip ticket. It's a little bit different. What I'd usually recommend here is if you're brand new to the game or been playing for a while and you haven't really been focused on arena like that and you kind of want to get into arena, buying either Chrono Dominator or Letterbag is really good. Letterbag I think is a lot better than buying Chrono straight up, because Letterbag can also be used in nuke compositions. So if you want something that's good for arena and for nuking, then Letterbag is your thing. If you just want something that's going to buff up your damage, then go for Chrono. And the same thing really applies here. The 5-star physicals and 5-star magics really aren't that great from this selection, so you're mainly going to be wanting to go everything like in defense, healing, and support. And I really wouldn't even go anything with healing because all these healing items aren't too good. And I would mainly go with, if you have Chrono and you already have Letterbag, probably go with a defense item that you may not have. Then the true equipment ticket. This is where some stuff gets kind of, hazy. This is where complicated matters come into play because there's a lot of different true weapons in this game, and most of them that are on this list are really solid and can be used in multiple different scenarios with multiple different units. So one thing that I would recommend that you do is, if you are planning on going for a certain unit in the unit of choice pool, not saying like who yet, but let's say like you wanted to get Sandstone from the unit of choice pool, then I would probably recommend that you pick up her true weapon from here. If you guys consider subscribing yet, some of you guys may not be subscribed to this channel, and it only takes 2 seconds. You just gotta click that red button and boom, you subscribe. Of course, you can always unsubscribe whenever you want to, but why not just click subscribe, especially if you're interested in Grand Summoners at the current moment, because that way all my videos instantly go to your sub box. You can even turn on the notification bell if you're really that dedicated, instead of having to type in my name or type in Grand Summoners instantly on the search bar, because your boy OP is your one-stop shop for everything GS. And also, you can click that like button too if you want to. Deus' true weapon is pretty solid. It heals you, gives your team a pretty good HP buff, and it also gives you art gauge on hit. But if you already have Alma's hat and stuff like that, you probably don't really want to get this, and you'll more than likely skip it. True Flambordo is probably one of the best defense item slots out of the true weapons. Literally the only other true weapon that I can think off the top of my head that is as strong as it is probably Thetis' true weapon. Gives you tons of damage mitigation, very strong 5-star defense, and you can use it on anybody. If you use it on Sandstone, just gets even more benefits. So if you plan on going for Sandstone, then you absolutely need this true weapon. It changes her immensely. But if you maybe just want a good defense item slot, this is very good as just a universal damage mitigation item. And the final one that I'm going to recommend to you new players before I start talking about my veterans over here is that if you also want a good defense item that maybe negates stats elements or make you immune to certain statuses, True Raz, fully upgraded, max LB it, very strong item. A lot of people use it. I would use this, but I have other items that kind of do the same thing as it. But it's a very strong defense item that is also for the true weapons if you want to pick this up too. Damage mitigation is the king, by the way. You guys may be like, but why do I want to pick up a damage mitigation item? I'm telling you, in in-game content, that's what the entire game's based around, baby. Because if you can't take a hit in the end game, you're running like Mahomes. Now for my veterans, there's a lot of different items in here that would definitely benefit you, depending on how far off you are actually in the game. But here's what I'm going to recommend for you. If you want to nuke with Mono Dark, maybe you would like to pick up True Nemesis Crow. It's down here. This is Regulus's true weapon, and no lie, this is a requirement for any Mono Dark team. It lowers the enemy's dark resist by like 50%, gives your team a huge damage buff, and is absolutely a must-have for any Mono Dark nukes. If you don't really care about Mono Dark, then another good one to also pick up is, if you're more into, the Earth units like Rivi and stuff, is Jill's true weapon. Jill's true weapon is very similar to Regulus's true weapon. It lowers the enemy's Earth resist by 50% and just makes it a lot easier for you to deal tons of deeps. Another thing we're going to talk about with nuking or just dealing increased damage, True Saint Blaze. This is Nisa's true weapon. Very strong for any mono water team. If you want that, or you want to just buff up your water unit's damage whenever you nuke, you may want to pick this up if you already don't have it. And that's actually all I want to talk about about. There's a lot of different options here that you can select, and it's really more of a personal preference thing with the true weapon tickets, and I don't really think you can go wrong unless you pick like Racky's true weapon or something. And then finally, the moment you all have been waiting for, the unit of choice ticket summons. Now, this is a little bit different. JP actually has different units than us in the unit choice pool, which is fine. I know some people are mad about this, but I feel like I'm the only one that's actually happy. But I'm going to break this down into new players, what you guys would want, and also kind of give you some scenarios as to why you may want to pick one unit over the other, because this is one of the strongest things in the entire game for a free-to-play player's account, because it lets you select any unit that's on this list, because it's pretty much just as strong, if not stronger, than the forever summons. So as a new player, still by default, what everybody recommends, including myself, I don't think anybody really denies this, is that if you do not have a support unit and you need a supporting unit to help your team, pick Finn. No matter what, if you are starting out in the game and you want the safest option and you don't really want to mess up, always pick Finn. The only time I wouldn't recommend picking Finn is if you already have 2 support units on your team. If you already have 2 support units, like 2 Archgeners, then you may not need Finn at the time. But Finn is one of the best support units in this game. He's kind of old. His stats aren't the greatest anymore compared to other units that release nowadays, but he still does his job amazing. He's really strong, really good. And also the only other time that I wouldn't go for this guy is if I already had Dark Finn, because Dark Finn, regular Finn's Archgen, does not stack. If you already have 2 supporting units, then I got someone else for you that's more of a niche, but also really good, and that is Rem. Now, Rem is used in a handful of in-game content just because she's able to lower the enemy's attack and defense on her art. Literally, you awaken her just to give her even more stats and just make her survivability even better, but you deadass don't ever use her true art in awakening. You only spam arts, and that's it. You literally use arts everywhere. Give that enemy a massive attack down, and it makes your team a lot tankier, able to survive a lot more stuff, and very good in multiple different situations. And one of the final units that I'm going to recommend for new players is Sandstone. Sandstone's used in some in-game content, mainly Aces and especially against Ganon. And Sandstone's really insane. She's a little bit different than other tanks. A lot of tanks in GS are taunting tanks, so they take all the damage for the team, and you know, they just put up barriers and they just become super tanky. Sandstone, however, is a damage mitigation tank. She doesn't put up a barrier, but she does give you tons of damage mitigation with her true art. Of course, if you are going for Sandstone, recommend going for the true weapon if you can't straight up buy it or didn't already have it, because her with her true weapon makes her so much better, gives her tons of equipment CT, and makes it to where she's just overall a lot better as a supporting tank. She's a very good unit for in-game content and not bad to invest in whatsoever, because she will help you out a ton. And then finally, what I'm gonna recommend for you new players, if you don't have a taunting tank, Gerald. Gerald is one of the best taunting tanks in the entire game, probably only rivaled by Thetis. Gerald literally is the whole reason why people are even able to beat Aces due to his revive mechanic. Really good unit, tanks a lot, gives you art gauge, is able to revive himself and refill his art gauge all the way back up to full if he ever would die. Worst part about Gerald though is that he only has 1 defense slot, and he's a taunting tank, so he's gonna need someone else on the team to kind of help with the damage mitigation. So that's not a problem at all for most people. But if you're brand new and you want a taunting tank to help you in certain stuff, Gerald is your man. That is what I would recommend. Those units is what I would say would be the go-to for new players. If you're not new though, and you're someone like me, you've been playing the game for years, this list actually has some pretty good stuff for us. So I'm gonna tell you what I recommend you vets to do. This isn't in any order, by the way. So the first guy I'm gonna recommend for vets is Daki. Daki is possibly the most sleeper hit unit GS has ever released. A lot of people sleep on this man, but my god is this guy good. He's insane for units that don't have innate crit chance built into their kit. Even though he doesn't buff up crit chance, he makes it to where everybody on your team ignores 100% of defense, which is almost as good. He's really good alongside Shuri, so if you love using Shuri, Daki is one of her best friends. Daki is really good against Virago and certain luck events or any type of event where you can't crit the boss. His slots are pretty okay, and overall, he's a very good unit, and he's going to be the unit that I'm personally picking up because I really want to try out different teams with him and Shuri and hope that I can get something going. Now, if you're looking for a breaker, look no further because the boy Wargle is on here. He's a really good breaker. He can break bosses very quickly. His slots are pretty okay for it. And once he finally does break a boss, he's able to give the entire team a huge damage increase. One of the best breakers in the game. And if you are looking for a breaker, I'd probably recommend this guy over Platina, even though Platina I think has more raw break power than him. But if you want a breaker that's able to buff up damage while also doing really good break damage, then Wargle's your guy. Now, if you're a mono water lover, you may want to consider picking up Diaz. He's very good when used on mono water because he gives everyone tons of art gauge with his art. But not only this, if you're using him in a mono water setup and you're able to use all of the relics, he can hold 3 of the relics by himself because of his slots. So that is something that like interests you. then maybe want to consider picking up Deez. And then after that, it's really up to you, whatever you want. If you want to pick up Regulus, you can pick up Regulus. You need to pick up Fina, you can pick up Fina. It doesn't really matter. Sunji's also a very good option here. And that's actually it for this year's unit of choice pool. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that type of stuff, man. Appreciate y'all. We've been having so much support on the channel. If you're brand new to the game too and you want to stay up to date on anything GS, you can click that subscribe button. And also you can look at my beginner's guide that I actually posted yesterday of an updated beginner's guide for 2021, where I go over some very basic things, some very general things that will help you in the very beginning. But hey man, it's been your bro P. Thank you all for coming out again. And last but not least, man, don't forget to drink water.